Welcome to the Indie Author Showcase. I am your host, Chad Robert Morgan, now 7-time award-winning author. We'll get to that in a moment. First, let me apologize for not being on last week. Short answer, was still working on a book to get reviewed, to get showcased, plus family drama, missed the episode. So here we are, the day after Christmas. This will be our last showcase before our end of the year best of review. So, I do apologize for missing a week. It was not my intention, but again, family stuff. With that said, let's talk a little bit about CreepIE is coming up. That is going to be just about a month and a week from now here in Ontario, California. I have been saying wait until I get my promo code so you guys can help support the show. Something has gone screwy with that. They handed out the promo codes and I didn't get mine. And I told them, I didn't get the promo codes. I was like, well, check your email. We sent it to you. I'm like, I checked my email. I did not get it. I don't know why they couldn't resend it. I mean, it's not like it's not like the promo code is going to be found in the Epstein files or something like that. I'm going to blaster this all over social media anyway. Why is this a secret? I don't know. So for whatever reason, I never got my promo code. I'm not in the competition for the free booth. I'm a little bit pissed about that, to be honest. But since I don't have my promo code to share, I can share a couple of promo codes for friends of the show. First of all, if you want to support Scott Harper, writer of the vampire novels, the Lethal Lords and Ladies collection, you can use promo code Macabre. If you want to support our friends at Diabolic, who won the booth last time, their promo code is Diabolic. And those are just the two that I know. Like, I know Black Spot's going to be there. I'm trying to find their promo code, a few other people. So that's just the two that I know of. So please, there are going to be way more vendors down there. If there's somebody that you already know, look for their promo code. Support your fellow vendors. Pick the one you like the most. Granted, it should be me. I should be your favorite. But, like I said, something went screwy. I never got my promo code. You can use Scott's. You can use Diabolic's. You can use any of the promo codes that you see from any of the other vendors. So please, help out a fellow vendor. They have increased the number of headliners that are going to be at this thing. So first they started with Bruce Campbell. Okay, pretty big catch. Then they added Robert Englund, the original and many, but the only Freddy Krueger. Then they added Cassandra Peterson, aka Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Now they have added Kiefer Sutherland. Kiefer Sutherland, you know him from 24. You also know him as one of the main vampires in The Lost Boys. He was also in, I think there was the original Flatliners. So this guy's been around, and he's done a horror thing or two. So the number of headliners is just growing on this thing. And like I said, those are just the big names. Like, for example, Alex Winter is going to be there. Ted from, Bill from Bill and Ted. And also one of the Lost Boys. So there's going to be like a little bit of a Lost Boys reunion. They're going to have so many of the victims of Freddy Krueger that they're going to have this. There's practically going to be a whole Nightmare on Elm Street reunion thing. So, I mean, and it's going to be huge if you're a horror fan. So definitely check that out at the end of January, January 30th to February 1st. And of course, I will be there with my newly anointed Book of the Year from Audiobook Reviewer. So let's get to that. So last show I was talking about how happy I was that I got the huge review from Audiobook Reviewer. I was very happy with that. They turned around, and this is a little bit of a weird thing for me because typically when you do such a good review, they give you Audiobook Reviewer's Choice Award, which basically means that you're like a 5-star review worthy book. They actually have to have a second reviewer check your book, right? So the first reviewer is, oh, this is awesome, 5 stars. A second reviewer reads it. If that reviewer agrees it's 5 stars, you get Audiobook Reviewer Choice Award, right? So 2 reviewers agreed that it's a 5-star book. Then when you get the Audiobook Reviewer's Choice Award, that puts you in the running for Book of the Year. And they're pretty generous in that. They split the categories 7 ways to Sunday. They're trying to, they want all their 5 stars to basically get a Book of the Year if they can find a home for it. Like horror was split into like 4 or 5 subcategories, for example. I just got that review, and then 2 weeks later, I had Audiobook Reviewer's Book of the Year. So, the best of my knowledge, I skipped a step somehow, right? I'm not really going to complain. So, they gave me Best Horror for the Thriller subcategory, and I am sharing that honor with fellow Book of the Year winner, Raven, and friend of the show, Raven Belasco. So Raven, we've had her on the show. We showcased her first book in her vampire series, the Blood and Ancient Scroll series. Her next book, Blood Demands. Is that the next book? Or I think, yeah, that's book 2. Has also won Book of the Year for the Audiobook Reviewer under the action subcategory. So horror/action. So really excited about that. I am also checking out some of the other winners, so we will get to that in future episodes. But yes, Fear has won Audiobook Reviewer's Book of the Year, and Raven Belasco has also won that honor as well, since she has been on the show before. So kudos to yours truly, and kudos to Raven. So fantastic. But that brings the total number of awards that I have won collectively up to 7. And again, like I said, I seem to skip one somehow. I don't know how that happened, but I am still stoked that I have won this award. This is the 3rd time I have won Book of the Year for Audiobook Reviewer. So so stoked, so happy for that. And yeah, so we'll talk more about Audiobook Reviewers books. It's a when I'm looking for a book to read or a book to showcase on the podcast, I tend to look towards my fellow winners. As I mentioned, the process of getting these awards, they're not just rubber stamping these things. There's actually a lot of thought and everything put into this. So these books come with they're hitting a certain quality bar once they hit that award. So they usually come out to be very good. I remember getting back on topic. Okay, so we talked about CreepIE. We talked about Fear winning its first award. So let's move on to this week's showcase. I know we're rapid firing this because it's late, and it's the Christmas season and time's short. But I want to try to get back on track to getting the reviews done on a regular basis. And with that mentioned, let's move on to the review, which was a phenomenally well done book. Shelli, by Doug Brode. One of the things I really like, first of all, this is a sci-fi book about a basically an android, right? We're in a world where androids are prevalent. Some of the themes are kind of very similar to what we're seeing now with AI. We have a lot of people that are losing their jobs to, like bots, AI bots. They're losing their jobs to automation. A lot of companies are placing bets that AI can do the work more efficiently, more quickly. Similar themes are in this book where we do have people protesting that they are losing their jobs to these human replicants, these synthetics, as they're called in the book. Similar to like when we had Picard, we had like all of Data's kind of like offspring kind of thing. And in this book, Shelli is the lone synthetic that works for Department of Homeland Security. Her job is to track down and eliminate synthetics that have committed crimes. Now, like the back of the book says, humans have 4 motives for murder: passion, panic, prejudice, and greed. Machines only have 1: purpose. So the starting the book, the main idea is if a synthetic has committed murder, it is due to a programming error or some sort of malfunction. There is no real crimes division. It's treated more like a rogue machine that has to be taken out, as opposed to some, these machines have no rights, right? They're property, which also kind of harkens back to some darker times in American history. There is a little bit of that kind of like the oppression, this less than human class of servants, which in this case are literally not human. And Shelli is one of this class, and her task is to take out malfunctioning members of her own kind. And they enlist a new member to the team, Jake. He's somebody that's always wanted to be a field agent. He joins the team, and that's pretty much where the book begins. And what we see in this book is they stumble into a much bigger conspiracy when they're investigating their first crime together, the death of a congresswoman or a senator. I think it was a senator, but details. That starts opening up a bigger mystery that they start to explore. And it does start delving into some of these kind of things about, certain inalienable rights, what constitutes life, what constitutes sentiency, that kind of thing. What really impressed me with this book is the economy of how this author writes. What I mean by that is, I had an earlier episode where I talked about Chaffa. To quickly summarize, chafa is a phrase that I basically am stealing from a story Kevin Smith told about working with Bruce Willis. All right, according to the story, they were doing Cop Out, and Bruce Willis took the script and just started ripping pages out and going chafa, 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 and Kevin Smith was like, what's chafa, boss? And it's like it doesn't move the story. It's just extra stuff. It's fluff. It's chafa, you know. This book is chafa free, right? Like, I don't think there's a single word in this book that could be cut. Like, I was reading like the first paragraph, and it was only like something like 6 or 7. And this is not a thin book by any stretch of it. This is a decent sized book. It's about 300 or so pages, you know. But like, I was reading the first chapter. It's only was 6 or 7 pages, but there was so much said in those few pages. The pace never lets up. You never get bored. It's just it is so well crafted in terms of every sentence counted. And every sentence was like, you've heard the expression, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Each sentence was like a picture. Like you got so much out of so few words. Very kind of Hemingway in that regards, right? What do I mean by that? So according to the story that I was told, Hemingway learned how to write as a newspaper reporter. So he was very, very economical with his words. And in fact, at one point, he had written like all these manuscripts and lost them. Just left them on a train. They're gone. So he had to rewrite things like A Farewell to Arms, right? And again, forgive me if I'm getting the story wrong, please correct me, but this is how I remember the story being taught to me when I was at school. That he had a body of work that he wrote. He lost it. He forgot it on the train and had to rewrite it. But by the time he was getting to the point where he was rewriting, he already had all this experience as a reporter during the war, that the same story was told way, way more efficiently. And that's how these books became the classics they are. Because if you had kept the original drafts, they probably would have been full of chafa. So as an example, it's been said that the he was asked to write the saddest story in the world, and he did it in 6 words: for sale, baby's shoes, never worn. So I mean, just think about that. It was just 6 words. He's already cramming that thing full of emotion. Because you're thinking to yourself, okay, they're selling baby shoes, but they were never worn. Why were they never worn? And obviously they're not being sold from a store, because you wouldn't mention. So obviously this is a resale. So that's telling you that at some point this was a couple that was expecting a baby or had a baby and lost a baby. They bought the shoes for the baby and then they lost a baby. I mean, it's just you can derive all of this backstory just from those 6 words. That's what I mean by efficiency. And that was what I was getting from Doug Brode. Right? This was Chaffa free. Now, by contrast, I don't want to get too much into it because I'm still reviewing this book. And I'm almost done with it. And it is a good book. But there were times when he was like repeating himself. Right? Like he would sit there and say something like, you know, the main character, you know, wondered why the other character did this. And then would turn around and that character would have dialogue saying, hey, I wonder why you did this. I'm like, you're basically saying it twice. Once in narrative and once in dialogue. You don't need to say it twice. There's a point in that book where, and again, I'm not talking about Shelli, I'm talking about this other one that we will review probably beginning of next year. Because it is good, so, but, there was a point in the book where it was just all her socializing with friends, and I was like, is this, I mean, it started out so strong, and then it goes in this really, really weird, let me try that again. It started off really strong, and then it goes in this really weird slice of life thing, and I'm like, oh god, I hope this is not the way the whole rest. And then it gets good again, but it's just got this part in sort of like the first act. It just is sort of this lull, and I was like, oh Lord, I hope it's not like this for the whole thing. And thank God it wasn't, because otherwise I probably won't be reviewing it next month. But he gets past that. But I was just like, I'm just reading this, and I'm like, dude, Chaffa, this is old Chaffa at this point. And I'm listening to that one on Audible at the same time I am reading the hard copy of this one. And it's just, the contrast was so stark. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, Doug Brode just did an excellent job with this book in packing so much with so few words. So, I mean, and again, like I said, the story itself was good. I don't think it was anything. Well, it is a kind of a crime thriller. So, yeah, I mean, there was a bit of a mystery as it was unfolding. Was a few surprises along the way. I won't say it was predictable. I also won't say it was the most original. This wasn't like Knives Out. Like I didn't really see the ending coming, but it also wasn't like there's no way in hell that could happen and mind blown kind of thing. It was a good, solid detective book, sci-fi detective book. So, as good as the story was, again, what impressed me the most was just the efficiency of his writing style. Like, he has several other books. He's got, I believe, a series about... Let me get that up here real quick. He's got a series called The Ship, which I believe is also sci-fi, or kind of a sci-fi horror, I think. I would really like to check out more of his work. I probably won't, because I have so many other indie authors I have to review. But this would be an author I would want to come back to. Definitely, for sure. And like I said, his writing style was so impressive. This one, if you're in the sci-fi, if you're in the kind of detective noir, if you think the two meeting is just, this is your book. Because I tell you, I don't know how this type of book gets any better. So, Just wanted to put that out there. Okay, so that's it for this week. I know I'm cutting these things shorter and shorter every time because my time's not my own. Next time you see me, we will be discussing best books of the year. So catch us in hopefully next week, unless something else goes wrong in my life, which these days is kind of like the norm. Catch us next week, and until then, keep on reading.